Hello, did anyone watch the Kendrick Lamar halftime show with your parents? If so, then let me explain what he meant when he said 40 acres and a mule. After the Civil War, formerly enslaved African Americans were promised land to help them start new lives. This promise is often remembered as 40 acres and a mule. But while the idea was real, it was never fully carried out, leaving many black families without the resources to build a better future. The phrase, 40 acres and a mule, comes from Special Field Order No. 15, which was issued by Union General William Tecumseh Sherman on January 16, 1865. This order was created during the final months of the Civil War to help freed African Americans become independent. The order set aside land along the coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida that had been taken from Confederate landowners. Sherman's plan allowed each black family to receive up to 40 acres of land. Some families were even given old army mules to help them farm. By the summer of 1865, about 40,000 freed people had settled on over 400,000 acres of land under this plan. However, after President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, his successor, President Andrew Johnson, reversed the order. Johnson gave most of the land back to the former white landowners. This forced many black families to leave their land, even if they had already started farming and building homes. Without land, many freedmen had no way to support themselves. Many became sharecroppers, working on land owned by white farmers in exchange for a small share of the crops. This system often kept them in poverty because they had to borrow money for tools and supplies, leading to a cycle of debt. Sharecroppers had to give a large portion of their harvest to landowners, leaving them with little for themselves. They often had to buy food and supplies on credit, and when harvest time came, they found themselves still in debt. This made it nearly impossible for them to save money or buy their own land. Although sharecropping trapped many families in poverty for decades, some African Americans found ways to break free. Many black families saw education as a way out. They worked hard to send their children to school, and over time, more African Americans were able to find better jobs outside of farming. During the Great Migration, 1910 to 1970, millions of black families left the South and moved to cities in the North and West, such as Chicago, Detroit, New York, and Los Angeles. There, they found jobs in factories and other industries. Buying their own land, some sharecroppers saved enough money to buy small pieces of land. By owning land, they could grow their own crops and keep all the profits instead of giving most of them to landowners. In some places, African Americans built their own businesses, schools, and farms. Towns like Mound Bayou, Mississippi, became examples of black self-sufficiency. Civil rights movements, the fight for economic and racial justice continued through organizations like the NAACP and leaders like Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Martin Luther King Jr. They pushed for better job opportunities, land ownership, and equal rights. The promise of 40 acres and a mule was one of the first major broken promises of Reconstruction. It is still talked about today as a symbol of how black Americans were denied economic opportunities after slavery. Some people even connect it to modern discussions about reparations, which means compensation for the injustices of slavery. The story of 40 acres and a mule is an important lesson in American history. It shows how the government had a chance to help formerly enslaved people gain independence but failed to follow through. However, despite the struggles of sharecropping and economic hardship, African Americans found ways to build their own communities, pursue education, and create a better future for the next generations. Thank you, Kendrick Lamar. We love you.